Hey there, welcome back to the Branding Your Business podcast. My name is Praise Santos McKenna. I'm the founder of the branding studio Plum, and I'm here today with Christi Johnson. And it's so fun when your internet friends realize like your circles are actually overlapping and there's like more of a Venn diagram and you've probably been in the same rooms together. This is Christi and I. So let me tell you a little bit about her. She is a compassionate business strategist and the founder of the Dream Biz Lab, where she helps creative entrepreneurs build sustainable, joy driven businesses that work with their brains, not against them. With a background in photography and operations, Christi combines heart and strategy to help women grow profitable businesses without burning out. When she's not working with clients, you'll find her playing the piano, planning her next beach trip, or recording episodes of the Dream Biz podcast. Thanks for being here today. Christi, can you tell our listeners where you are recording from, what the world looks outside your window? Give them a little bit of you.
Yes, thank you so much, Praise. I'm so excited to be here. I'm coming to you from Greenville, South Carolina, and just outside my window, I see rainy weather and trees and grass. And I actually just had two little baby deer come across my window earlier today, which doesn't normally happen. But there's a little family that has been frolicking in the woods beside my house. So that's bringing me some joy today, right now.
Okay, so are you Snow White or what? Like, how is that possible? How cute, how dreamy. So the family's just been like around the neighborhood? Is that what it is?
Yeah, so we live in a residential area, a suburban neighborhood, but there is one little patch of woods right behind our yard. And we have seen little baby deer, we have seen a family of foxes, and for some reason they're just really active right now. And we've been seeing them almost every day. It doesn't normally happen, but it definitely brings me a smile on my face when I see them because they're so cute.
Yes. Okay. I'm going to pay attention to your stories even more
Okay.
closely now. You need to snap more. We love forest animals. I've been reading my daughter forest animals books, and I'm like, okay, well, like who doesn't love a good bunny, a good
I
fox, a
know.
good Bambi, right?
Yes. And it literally has spots too, just like Bambi, the one I saw today. It's on my stories today, so you'll have to check that out.
Ooh, okay, we'll be tuning into that. Well, as much as I would like dive into animal psychology, maybe we could even branch into animal branding. We're going to focus on a few other things today because even when I was reading your bio, even when we were connecting and about doing this podcast, I was like, this girl gets it. This girl knows what it's like to kind of follow the calling on her life. She launched her business, but then she also learned the hard way of burning out and thinking to herself, wait, this is not the way to go. And a lot of creatives start out and hit that point. I feel like that's really normal. And the thing is, a lot of creatives then give up. Then they turn around and say, this isn't for me. I messed up. They start talking down to themselves, but you were able to learn from this experience and you were able to overcome it. So let's backtrack a little bit. That was a bit of foreshadowing. Let's start to 16-year-old Christi starting her business already. Like, what was that like, and how did that evolve to making a successful 10K month business and burning out? How did that happen?
I would love to tell you the story. I started out like a lot of photographers that I have spoken with who've shared their stories. They say, oh, I started taking photos of my friends in high school, and that's definitely what happened to me. I actually had a dream to be a photojournalist, taking photos of my favorite rock bands. And so that's what really got me into photography. Yes, I wanted to be that girl. That did not end up being the trajectory of where I went. I picked up a camera and realized that I loved photographing people. And so I just started photographing my friends. I remember doing my first photo shoot for $50 for my friend, doing some senior photos, and my first wedding for like $100 because I was like, this seems like a good enough amount of money. And I used my creative brain and just my passions to really create work for myself through photography and piano teaching. I'm a musician as well. Swim teaching, I did that as well, some swim instructing. And so really I would tell people I didn't like to be bored. And I used that to kind of pave my way through college and graduate school. And it's so funny to think about where I was back then because future planning and scaling and things like that weren't really on my mind. I was really just in the passion of doing what I loved and following what made me happy. And over time, I started to learn more and more about business, which is wonderful. I grew and expanded my knowledge. And then in about 2023, I started branching out into operations work. I started working with business owners to help them in the back end of their business because I realized I was really interested in operations in the back end of their business. So I was an online business manager and I did that for a couple of years. And what's interesting, I think when we learn more about business and when we start chasing more and more and more and more, sometimes we can lose the vision of what we had when we first started. So somewhere along the way, I kind of lost the vision of doing what makes me happy and following my passions and just like having fun like I did when I was a teenager, just taking photos with my friends in the park for fun, you know? But I was scaling and was getting more successful. I started to build a creative agency after working as an online business manager for a couple of years, brought on some team members who were my family, which was so fun to work with them. And over time, I realized that I was building this business, but I didn't stop to think about how I felt while running the business. And I was having panic attacks, which was not something that I had dealt with before. I have always been kind of, a perfectionist and someone who liked to keep it all together. And anxiety to me, I thought was something that happened to other people and not to me because I was high achieving and thought that I could do all of these things. But these signs of anxiety kind of started to creep up. And it all kind of came to a head at the beginning of 2024 when I got sick with a cold, which was no big deal because it's just a cold. It happens in the winter season. But I didn't stop to take care of myself and I didn't take any time off. And so what happened was I got better after a while, but then I got sick again. And this time it was the flu, which is a little bit harder to recover from. But once again, I didn't stop to take care of myself because I was still in a phase where the growth was very new for me, and so my team wasn't yet able to take over certain responsibilities for me because I hadn't given them that freedom yet, and we hadn't really had a long period of time for me to feel fully ready to trust them. I also have some, micromanagement problems that I didn't know at the time. And so I kept working while I was sick, and I actually ended up not sleeping for like 7 days. And if you don't sleep, that really affects your brain. Well, I got better, and then a few weeks later, I got COVID. And it was a period of 3 months where I was just sick and then not sick, and then I would get better, and then I would get sick again, and then I would get better. And I ended up burning out and having like a mental health crisis because I continued to not take care of myself. And I crashed and burned, and I realized I had forgotten that vision and forgotten that passion that I had before, and it really led to me just kind of, like, falling flat on my face after having all this external success, like hitting those 10K months, growing my team, and things like that. So on the outside, it probably looked like I was very successful, but on the inside, it was kind of a free fall to rock bottom at that time.
There's so many times where I was just like, I get that. I'm sorry you had to go
Mhm.
through that, but I feel that and I get that. And it's a really interesting trajectory. And I hate that it's common among creatives though, too, is
Yes.
that you get like just caught up. Right. And it's not even amongst creatives. It's probably the human condition, right? We get caught up in this hamster wheel. Even when we're creating our own businesses, we say we have autonomy and we have choice. But then you're just like, well, I have to keep going because now I have this team. Well, I have to keep going. Like, I don't have time to get sick. I have to keep going. And you start denying when your body's trying to tell you, like, hey, we need a little help. We need a little R&R. No, but, we have to train our team. We have to, steady out. I can get sick later until your body finally is like, "Nah, girl, like, we don't have an immune system anymore. We're vulnerable to threats." And it forced you to quiet, and it forced you to be still. And so for those listening, this is your sign. If you're looking for a sign to slow down or rest and you notice times when your body is just like, hey, here's a signal, slow down, or something isn't clicking anymore. Use Christy's story. There's so much we're going to glean from this, but use Christy's story just even 10 minutes in. Ask permission to slow down, recalibrate, and evaluate. And you were so wise to have that self awareness, even though it took some time to be like, wait, what am I doing? Why am I doing this? I've lost track. And it also sounds like you were doing so much of the things you were good at.
Yes.
And what you're good at and what you like love and what really lights you up sometimes does not equate the same thing. And so tell us, so you're in this. I'm like going back to Christy in 2024. She's had all the sickness, she's had COVID. Girl, even if I don't get like enough sleep for one day, I go a little loopy. So you didn't have sleep for 7 days. This is your time of self evaluation to be like, what is happening? What was that? Okay, like this is my aha moment. I need to slow down. This is what the next 6 months of my life is going to look like. What was going through your mind? What decisions were you making?
Honestly, what was going through my mind was a lot of feelings of failure and a lot of feelings of embarrassment and shame and feeling like I had let myself down and let my team down at first. Because I love how you brought up the fact that, I was doing things that I was good at, but maybe not necessarily things that I wanted to do. I had this whole vision of wanting to support my family and support business owners. And those were all and good and valuable things, and things that if I had thought about it, I would have said, yes, I do want to do this. But I made the mistake of not paying attention to how my body was feeling while I was doing it. And I think that's like you mentioned, something that we do struggle with a lot as humans and creatives, or for me, in my case, I do have ADHD. And so a lot of times I don't realize what is happening until I don't realize signs of burnout until it's already too late, because we tend to only think about what's right in front of us right now. And so in that moment, when I burnt out and I realized that this was more than just okay, I need to take a couple of days off and then I can get back to it on Monday kind of situation, it was a lot of grief. I had to realize that, like, take responsibility for the fact that I had let it get to that point. And I had to make some really hard decisions to say, okay, this trajectory that I'm on is not working, and I have to do a full stop and make major course corrections. Because at that time, because I had ended up with a mental health crisis that was beyond just, okay, I'm sick and I'm going to be better on Monday, I had to take that responsibility and say, okay, we're going to stop the direction that this business is moving, because I need to put myself first. And I had never taken that step to put myself first. I've always been the type of person to put myself last. I wanted my clients to come first, my team to come first, and their needs, but I was ignoring what I needed. And so in that moment, I was very confused and was very feeling like I've let myself down, I've let my team down. But also, I had to make that brave decision to say, we're going to stop, full stop, and I'm going to take some time off without a time in my head at that moment of knowing when I would come back. So I didn't know when I was going to step back into work. I didn't know even if I was going to be able to, because of the anxiety that I had been experiencing and some of the feelings of like panic attacks and things like that. I didn't know if I would be able to work again. And so it was just a moment of, I'm going to take the time that I need, no matter what that looks like. And I'm going to be open to allowing myself to grieve where I am and allow myself to be open to what this next stage of my life is going to look like.
That must have been a really scary choice to
Mhm.
make too. And what I'm hearing from you, there is all this conflicting feelings of, no, I want to keep my business to like
Yeah.
serve my family. I want to keep on serving the clients. I love small businesses and I love supporting them. And also, wait, Christy also loves Christy too. She can't actually show up for these people if she has nothing. You were running on no gas, like you needed to charge up yourself. And I want to double click on something because, as someone who has experienced panic attacks on and off, I remember my first panic attack and not knowing what it was. And so I wonder if you can be brave and vulnerable with me, just so for our listeners to even have a better sense. Those who are trying to become more self aware of their mental health, their physical health, and people's panic attacks look different. But would you mind describing what that felt like, just so some of our listeners might be like, oh my goodness, I can know the signs of this too, or I've experienced that too.
Yeah, I absolutely would be open to sharing that. So I think, when you think about panic attacks and you see them portrayed on TV or something like that, it's a lot of hyperventilating and a lot of like maybe having your vision kind of close in or something like that. That didn't actually happen to me. What really happened to me is I feel my anxiety right in the center of my chest. And so it was like stiffness and like a tension in the center of my chest. I sometimes thought, well, maybe I'm having a heart attack because it was just like pain in the middle of my chest. But it didn't always show up like that. Sometimes it showed up as crying because I didn't know how, because I kept ruminating over the fact that I needed to come up with a certain amount of money to be able to pay my team. And I'm just thinking, ruminating on this thought of, I got to come up with this money. I got to come up with this money over and over, and like crying about it. And it looked like a lot of sitting in the shower with the water running and just feeling like trapped in where I was in my life and that there was no way to get out. So it wasn't as dramatic as like hyperventilating and having my vision close in. Sometimes it was ruminating thoughts that were of like, I don't know how I'm going to get out of this. I don't know how I'm going to get out of this. Sometimes it was tension in my chest, and sometimes it was just sitting in my shower feeling completely hopeless.
Yeah, those anxious spirals that
Hmm.
kind of take over us too. I just want to hug past Christy and just be like, I'm so sorry you had to experience that. Which, so you're experiencing these things, you decide that I need to take a break. I need to take a breather. You really have to recover on so many levels. Who did you lean on during that time? What were the steps you took to recover?
I love this question because there were definitely several people in my life that I leaned on very heavily. And the steps that I took to recover didn't look like what I wanted them to look like when I first entered my period of recovery. I really wanted to come out of it. I was like, okay, in 3 months, I'm going to have a plan to restart my business, to be making money again, and to be coming back better than ever. And that is not what happened. So the people that I leaned on, number one, my husband. He was my biggest support throughout all of it, and he was there for me every step of the way. Number two was my therapist. My therapist was a huge asset to me, and I'm so glad that I was already in therapy when this all happened for me. So it wasn't like I had to also go through the stage of finding a therapist, which would have been really scary and vulnerable. And I'm not sure if I would have been able to do it at that time. So leaning on my therapist, and also a couple of coaches I worked with. One of them was an embodiment coach, and she worked with me to really bring in more feelings of I am good, I am valuable, I am worthy. And she also helped me to kind of move about my day with more ease instead of having that tension, which is what I was feeling before with my anxiety and constantly, having to think about how I'm going to get my business out of this hole that I put it in. So she really helped me to have more ease and flow throughout my day. And then about 3 months into my journey, I connected with a business coach. And her philosophy to business coaching is making your work feel more like play, which I absolutely love. And I was really drawn to that. And once again, I went into that coaching with her. This was in October, and I had taken a pause in June. And when I started this coaching with her in October, I still was like, all right, I'm going to have my plans. We're going to get out of this. And she really helped me to stop and just allow the process to happen naturally instead of going into it with my plans of how I thought it should look. And so sometimes her homework for me was, I want you to watch TikTok all day and not feel shame about it. I want you to exist in your day and not feel guilty about it and not try to make these plans for your business. Throughout that process, in leaning on all those people, it really looked like a lot of taking time for my hobbies that I'd been neglecting. So playing music, getting back into crafting because I love to craft and do things like that. I did some art, and a lot of spending time outdoors in nature because nature is very healing for your nervous system. And so those are the things that I did, but it really wasn't this like step-by-step thing that I could formulate into telling someone else, this is what you can do to heal from burnout. Because really it was a very like long process of just letting it happen how it needed to rather than what I thought it should look like.
There is this concept that even in my personal life, when we coach people, we talk about this concept of should. Do you ever feel like you wear so many hats as a small business owner? I totally get that. Here at Come Plum, we want to keep you in your zone of genius, how you serve and show up for people. So leave the branding to us. In a collaborative way through brand coaching, we help you define your brand foundations, your brand strategy, and your brand expression, all that fun stuff like logo, websites, videos, photos, and more. If you go to comeplum.com and mention in the contact form that you heard about us through our Branding Your Business podcast, you get cool perks like an extra hour of coaching or 10% off your coaching package. We can't wait to collaborate with you to build a brand that you and your clients love. Like, the shoulds are so heavy. And I imagine the listeners to this podcast are like, oh my gosh, Praise, you weave this in every time. But I'm like, this is the perfect example, though, of you are a full-time creative and you took on the shoulds of, again, like, I need to get my business out of the hole. Okay, I'm giving myself 3 months, but then I'm gonna make money. This concept, and that also has to do with hustle culture, right? Like, you are a woman living in 2024, 2025. Like, we need to be making money. We need to provide for people. And then it gets so heavy and heavy, and your creative soul was just shrinking and shrinking and shrinking. And this business that, 16-year-old Chrissy was like, oh my gosh, someone paid me $50 to take headshots. She was probably put in the corner. And I love that you had your husband, who is your great partner and support system, your therapist and your coach, be like, no, let's take care of that part of Chrissy. Bring her outside. Let her watch TikTok. Like, let her have a summer, right? We have summers growing up and they're so refreshing and so good. And then adulting kind of sucks because we don't give ourselves that break and that free play. And as you were talking about panic attacks, another way that I've heard is someone say it too, right? It's like our fight or flight mode too, right? Like, back in the day, we really had to fend for our lives and survive out there. And that part of us is still in us, right? But now we are fighting for our lives by making sure we make enough money, by making sure we provide for our clan or our family too. And so that part was so activated. And there's also this picture of our hands like being ready to fight a bear. That's what it feels like, in your chest getting tight. But it's doing things like walking out in nature, creating and playing that showing like we're not getting attacked by a bear. We're actually here, it's summertime. It's fun. And even though you didn't have a plan, I could see it. And of course, it's so much more clear looking back. When you're in it, it seems hodgepodge. But I'm like, of course, this is what her creative soul needed. This is what her overall soul needed to recover and take steps. And I know those pieces of going into nature and looking at art also probably help you with your diagnosis of being ADHD. Are there other things? I know that a lot of our listeners are also living with that diagnosis too. Are there other things that you've done as someone with the ADHD diagnosis that you're like, "Ah, my brain works this way. Let me like do more of this. This is what it likes to do."
Yes, 1,000%. So, as a person with ADHD, I have a lot of ideas and I get really inspired by them. And it's important for me to have time to follow those creative ideas and those hyper fixations, as it were. In the past, when I was growing my agency, my schedule really was packed to the brim, and I didn't have time to just follow the ideas that I wanted to follow. All my time was kind of scheduled out with, oh, I need to work on this for my team. I need to work on this for my clients. I need to build out this back end automation for my business. But I didn't have the time to just dream and scheme and follow what I actually wanted to do. And so I think it's important for anyone with ADHD or who is just a person who is creative and does a creative work. You need to have that time for yourself where you are just doing whatever you want. I've seen people put this into their schedule as like creative days where they just do whatever they want, do something creative. Maybe they don't have a structure, maybe they don't have an agenda, but it's just their time to follow their little rabbit trails, their side quests as we call them. And so for me, I realized that not only is that part of me important to nurture, it's actually really essential to how I solve problems and how I show up for my clients and myself. So it's essential for me to have this time to follow my side quest because that's how my brain works in solving problems in a creative way and thinking of new ideas that could help my clients. And so when I'm locked into like a structure or a schedule, that's when I start to feel icky and I start to not be able to have my brain work at its best. So I really need to have like protect that time to follow my side quests.
Okay, we love side quests. And this
Yes.
totally makes sense. Like, we need to let you flourish, right? Like, and we have to honor the way that you're wired. And if it sounds like you could do this for a little bit, right? Where you're stuck in meetings, it's all rigid. You're able to survive, but only to a point. Whereas it sounds like when you have more space and breathing room to give your brain space to chase those side quests. I love that picture. It really helps you flourish, which I was looking at a recent reel you posted. You're like, here's what I do on some of my no meetings week. Can you tell us more about that? Because I know some people were like, wait, what? We can do that and have a flourishing business. What is a no meetings week? What does it look like for you?
Yes, no meetings week is essential to how I thrive because it gives me that space to create and follow my side quest, like I mentioned. So, my no meetings week is something that I implemented a few months ago after I realized I really need time to have nothing on my schedule. So, once a month, I take a full week where I don't have any client meetings or even any networking meetings or just anything at all on my schedule. I protect it as much as possible to where I look at that calendar and it's just wide open space. Kind of like summer, like you mentioned. We don't have that as adults. And I was like, well, I really need free time. And so once a month, I put this in my calendar. I usually look ahead about 3 months in advance to see which meet things I want to attend, if there are any events happening in my local community that I want to go to, or if there are any events in the online communities that I'm a part of. I'll put those in and then try to fit in a no meetings week once a month. And I use this time, I don't have any agendas during no meetings week. It is a time for me to do whatever I want to do. Sometimes I'm extremely productive. One week recently, I voice messaged 100 people asking them to take a market research survey that I was working on. But then one week recently, I literally played a video game for like 3 days straight. And then afterwards, I got done the things that I wanted to do in my business. But it's just time for me to protect that time for me and protect what my brain needs to thrive and just what I need to feel happy and safe and not constantly moving from one thing to the next so I can dream a little bit, scheme a little bit and things like that.
There's so much play there. And I love that you are scheduling it because some people in our heads are like, oh yeah, we make time to relax. I'm like, no, you have to be so bounded to give yourself time to relax. You have to have a block on your calendar because it's not just going to find you. You have to make sure you make space for it. And I know that you have a community that you're building. I know you're coaching people to implement more play into their lives as well. Can you tell us a little bit about the Dream Biz Lab? Can you tell us how you help people within that container? It sounds like it's a container, but it helps people to have no containers at the same time.
Yes, it is a container and it does work with helping you have more freedom in your schedule. So, the Dream Biz Lab is my group coaching community. It is a membership community. So, it's under $100 a month. And we meet every other week and we talk about how to build a business with more ease, more joy, and more play. And I really work with all the people in my community to help them figure out what is the best rhythm for you and your unique brain. While no meetings week works for me, something that works for you might be different. And it's really a space to kind of give yourself permission to do what you want to do in your business. And I call it the Dream Biz Lab because it's all about experimentation and trial and error and kind of tinkering. And I wanted to bring in that like mad scientist vibe of like, how can I make my business the best that I want it to be for me? So that's what we do. We meet every other week in the group, but the structure is really led by my community, what they want to hear, what they're dealing with. And the central theme is like, okay, how can we make your business more fun? How can we make it feel more safe in your body and remove those feelings of anxiety and stress and just feel like you're out there taking photos as a 16-year-old or whatever it is that you want with your friends, trying these weird angles that not that someone taught you to do, but something that you just followed because of your creative brain got inspired. So that's what we work on together in the lab.
I love that so much. And even just how you are posing this question, right? For accountability, telling people what is easy, what is play, what is fun. And for those listening, when was the last time you asked yourself that? When was the last time you asked yourself, what sounds playful? What sounds fun? What did I love to do as a kid? And oftentimes, tapping into that will unleash new levels of joy and flourishing and really like next levels in your business too, especially if you are fueled by that as well. But we can talk about this, right? Like, I love this idea of more small business owners just playing, but we need to acknowledge that we still swim in the waters of people hustling and people bounded. Like, it's not even a 9 to 5 anymore. Some people are like a 7 to 7 these days, just working extra hard. How can someone choose to lean into playfulness when there is still this culture that we live in where it's like work yourself to the max, or burnout is a sign of merit? Burnout is it like that means you worked really hard. How can someone balance these two things?
I really think the biggest thing that you can do for yourself is surround yourself with people who are going against that culture. Surround yourself with people who also believe that it doesn't require sacrificing your soul to grow your business, because then you can see people living it out. So that way, when you go online, you are getting inspired by their content, or when you are having meetings with them. I'm in several communities right now. Some are that I'm paying for, some are free, of just surrounding myself with people who bring that air of lightness and ease that I want to bring into my business. And so, number one, I think it really matters who you're surrounding yourself with. And it really matters who you're listening to online. So, if something comes across my feed and it makes me feel icky and makes me feel like I'm not worthy or I'm not doing enough, I will mute them, unfollow them, whatever I need to do so that when I go online, I'm not inundated with these vibes of you need to do more, you need to work from 7 to 7, you need to be going live 4 times a day, whatever it is that they're saying. Just making sure that I'm curating a space for myself that is easy and light and helps me embody more of the person that I want to be. And then I think it's also really important to have time for yourself. Have time that you protect fiercely, where you are free to journal, to dream, if you're not into journaling, whatever that is for you, painting, where you're not letting in those voices, where you are just listening to your voice, maybe having some practices or rituals that you do to help tap into your inner knowing or your inner wisdom, whatever that looks like for you, that is free from outside influence. Like, find what works for you and protect that fiercely so that you can discover your voice, listen to your voice. And then when it's time to go out into the world in your community and online, like curating that space so that it's helpful for you and healing, rather than like, ugh, they're saying that I need to do this. Well, now I feel unworthy. Like, there's no place for that for me anymore. I try to protect that fiercely.
That is so good. I think some people don't even have the awareness that they're being influenced by what they're taking in, or by even the friends they're surrounded with, to what they're saying. And I love that you're like, you've changed so much, right? From the story of burnout before, where you didn't have the awareness that these other things in your life were not helping you flourish. And then now you have such a good self awareness of, oh, that person's content, right? Like, even in just one scroll, you're like, I don't feel good about it. Mute, unfollow too. And that your ears have become so attuned to that. But it's being, again, so bounded and giving yourself good boundaries. Like, that doesn't make me feel good. You know what does make me feel good is some more alone time and some more investment in myself, which, I mean, I don't know if it's deer, I don't know if it's little foxes. Like, what is inspiring you these days? What does play look like to you? Is it more of this video game that you really love? What are you tapping into this week?
My goodness. Well, a big one for me is spending time with my nieces and nephews. I have 25 nieces and nephews, a lot of children in my life. None of them are mine, but they are my family members' children. And spending time with them is so much fun for me because they're in their worlds playing constantly. They get together and they're just having a ball. And what's really interesting is they're not even like being told that they need to do something creative or imaginative. Like, they're just going out there and they're creating it for themselves. So that has really been inspired me, just to see, have a more childlike approach to the world of like, how can I have more fun? How can this be more fun today? So spending time with my nieces and nephews is definitely inspiring me. And then, like I mentioned, I already mentioned my communities that I'm a part of. I'm in a peer-led mastermind right now where it's just a bunch of friends that I met in person at a conference, and we were like, hey, let's get a little mastermind together. So we did, and we've been meeting every single week. And the people in the group are really inspiring me to go out there to get my ideas into the world, to dream and to launch and all of those types of things. So they're really inspiring me. And then I'm inspiring myself. I'm not going to lie. I take time to, I'm really into like oracle cards and tarot cards and things like that. And I love to inspire myself with those things and tap into my inner knowing and my inner wisdom to just see what I want to bring into the world today. So those 3 things would probably be the biggest things that are inspiring me right now.
That is so good. Yeah, kids are the best. They don't have to be taught how to play. They just do it. They don't have to be taught how to find inspiration or how to be astonished at this beautiful world we live in. And I love that you have 25 of them to help remind you what that's like. That is
It's
incredible. And
wild, yeah.
also, yeah, I'm like, how do you fit them in one place? I don't know how to gather them all together.
They spend a lot of time outside.
Okay, the great outdoors. Yes, that is definitely the solution. And I liked what you said that you also inspire yourself. I love it when people put themselves on their own inspiration board. Like, we need more of that, like, energy. We need more of, I am really proud of myself energy. And I feel like you are exuding that so, so well. We are ending our podcast with what I think is really fun. I feel like this is play to me. And so we are going to pick a few cards here, and
I love
many of
this.
those listening like know the game. So, and it's going to be Spitfire. I just want you to tell me, like, I'm going to say a word and it's a value. These are the core value cards here. And I want you to tell me a brand or even a person that you are reminded of when you read this card. You ready?
Sounds great. I'm ready.
Okay. This one might get dicey, but patriotism.
Patriotism. I'm gonna go Kamala Harris.
Kamala, may she be blessed. Saint Kamala. That's so good. Okay. Self respect.
Can I say Oprah?
Yo, Oprah's still killing it. I was on Spotify the other day. I'm like, she's still creating content. She's still
Yeah.
out here like recording, writing books, doing all the things. Okay, last one. Ooh, originality.
Originality. I'm gonna say Flowdesk.
And why is that?
Recently, I think yesterday, they have a new social media manager, and I just think it was really fun, the content they were creating around having their new social media manager. And it felt really original and refreshing to me. And I love how they're changing the game for email marketing. So I'm going to go with them.
You know, I'm a flow desk girly, so like 10, 10. Yes, indeed. I want people to be able to find you and connect with you because I know some people are like, I need more of Christi. I want to join the Dream Biz Lab. Can you tell people how they can connect with you?
Absolutely. You can head over to my website, ChristiJohnsonCreative.com, and you can follow me on Instagram at Christi Johnson Creative. That is the best place to connect with me. I'm always over there sharing the little baby deer in my yard and my latest escapades in my farm on Stardew Valley. So you can see all that over there on Instagram.
Okay, follow for the deer, but stay for the magical inspiration of leading a dream life. I love that so much. Thank you so much, Christy, for spending time with us.
Thanks for having me, Praise. This was so much fun.